This is the Last Giddy Farmer podcast. Adebayo Adeoti is the founder of Bani Agribusiness Solutions, in abbreviation that's Bax Farm. A very passionate agricultural extension professional and a strong advocate for youth and rural development through agriculture. So with a background in agricultural education and hands-on experience in both crop production and community outreach, Adebayo uses innovative tools to connect young people and underserved communities, to opportunities in agribusiness, right? So through initiatives like school programs, there is also another program that is stamped the 4-H programs and farmer education workshops, right? He is building a generation of future agripreneurs. His work not only promotes food security, but also champions, right, the vital role of agriculture in national development. Adebayo is committed to cultivating minds, transforming lives, and reshaping rural narratives one community at a time, right? So when he's not working, you can find him playing football, pool, or video games and spending time with, family and friends. Welcome, Mr. Adebayo. So it's been a very, interesting and impressive profile, right? So I like you. Thank you so much. And I'll just go straight to the first question of the day. And for you to share what you are doing with improving lives in rural communities. So I'd like to ask you, you are currently in the US, but yet pursue this course in Nigeria. I want to understand, why you pursue this despite the distance and many preoccupations that you have, I'm sure educations and others that make this almost impossible. Why do you do this? I would like to know.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Toib. I would say it has been a while. I had my bachelor's degree in University of Ibadan in agricultural extension and rural development. So that has kind of exposed me to a lot of things when it comes to challenges being faced by rural dwellers and those living in rural communities. Just to state the obvious, we are aware that 1/3 of the world's food population is being produced by smallholder farmers. And we can simply infer that most of these smallholder farmers reside in rural areas. So just think of it, those that produce about 1/3 of our food who lives in rural areas don't have access to, basic amenities, good roads, good electricity, and, quality education and all that. So that kind of, prompted me and kind of exposed me to the fact that how can I help these people? And right after I had my bachelor's degree, I had the opportunity to, volunteer for a couple of NGOs aimed at alleviating poverty. So that also kind of exposed me firsthand to experience what these people are really going through. That stirred up something within me. How can I help these people? This is a lot of potentials out here. How can I help them maximize their potential? How can I help them make use of this gifts that they have when it comes to agriculture? How can I help them to further use this to better their lives and their community? So that made me start up my organization, which is Bani Agribusiness Solution, aimed at developing rural communities through agriculture. Over time, I've been able to organize agricultural programs, workshop, women empowerment programs, and all that. However, yes, we've been able to make impact, but my vision kind of tilted a little bit because it can be really difficult working with adults. Trust me, it can be really difficult working with adults, trying to change their perspective, trying to take away what they've known for donkey years and bringing about a new innovation or something to them. So my vision kind of tilted towards, okay, I think it's going to be best for me working with kids. That made me started researching, okay, how can I better help these kids? How can I better improve their lives? I started researching and I stumbled upon the 4-H model and the FFA model. 4-H is a youth development organization aimed at teaching kids about agriculture and also preparing them for the future. I was like, yeah, I struck gold already. This is what I am looking for. Just to not to limit it, 4-H is not just limited to agriculture, but however, considering my vision and the path that I want to go, I'm more focused on agriculture education. So I was like, okay, I need to research on this program. This program seems like a really good one that I can actually use to impact the lives of these kids in rural areas. That brought me out here to the US for just that sole, reason. I came out here to do my master's while researching on 4-H program. And as things have been going pretty well, we're able to launch a pilot project this year to start the 4-H model back home. So that's that just prompted me to see how I can keep helping and giving back to the community. And the 4-H model, which we have started, is a really good uh, model to help improve the lives of these kids, and it's going to give them a foundational knowledge, which is the basis of everything. It's going to give them a foundational knowledge to be able to do this. And going back to your question, why I pursue this cause to help kids, it is our role, it is our responsibility to prepare these kids for the future. Some people have done it for us. It is our own part now to help them, prepare for the future and make them responsible citizens. We cannot just neglect the agricultural sector because, it is a very important sector that, it accounts for about 24% of Nigerians' GDP, and it employs over 70% of the population. So it's a very important aspect that we shouldn't neglect. Hence the reason why I'm doing my bit to see how I can help prepare kids for the future. And doing it back home, yes, I'm in the US, back in the and the business is running back in Nigeria. This has been the great work of my team back home. They've been really, 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 really helpful, and they've been making things work pretty smoothly for me, considering I'm not here. And I think yeah, that's pretty much why I'm doing all of this. And I think part of your question too also did talk about, challenges that I've encountered. You know, Trust me, it's not easy, bootstrapping and trying to do all this by yourself without any support from the outside. So it has been quite challenging financially, and also getting dedicated volunteers to work with you as a team. But like I said initially, I have a very pretty solid team back home, and they're making it. They're really doing a good job. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for that. It's really uh, interesting, the kind of fire that sparks you to do this. And you're getting to know about the challenges that you face and how you able to navigate them. I see that is something of a true calling rather than, just uh, as a come by, right? And I also got grasp of, the challenge that you face with, working with adults, and you saw that children, their mind is still sort of
Yeah,
moldable, right?
very
So
fresh. Yeah.
it's better to focus on the children and bring them up, right? So I love that aspect as well. And you explaining the 4-H aspect as well. I hope that we get to know more about the 4-H aspect. So I'll just move on to the next question, right? And this question is really critical. We have to ask it because we are looking at some disturbing statistics here. You know, we have over 18 million out of school children in Nigeria. When we say 18 million out of school children in Nigeria, we are saying that one in every three children is out of school, right? So this figure represents 8% of our total population in Nigeria. And when we look at the majority of the demographic that constitute these out of school children. We see that there are children in their children from primary school, from primary school age, people still in their formative years, right? And it's really dangerous. And when you look at the disparity in the figures, it has this sort of gender and rural urban divide, right? So also looking at uh, this out of school children phenomenon in Nigeria is the highest in the world, right? So it gets me really worried. So I'm thinking and I'm asking you, you being involved in the space, uh, involved in children with children education, understanding the importance of children education. I want to ask you, what are the implications that we are seeing with this sort of statistics, and what could be causing this rising number of out of school children and the embedded inequalities, despite the increased national educational budget that we've seen in the last 3 years, and also many local and international supports? I would like you to help us out with that. Thank you.
You know, the numbers you called, they're really scary, very scary, in all honesty. Thinking about 18.5 million out of school kids in Nigeria, that is that is really scary, I must say. Any reasonable person in power, that has the good intention of a nation at heart would look into combating this. Out of every three children, one doesn't go to school. That is, it is something really, really scary. Before I dive deep into the implications and probably what are the possible causes of these issues that we are facing, let me just highlight a few things that would just reinforce the importance of education. You know, Maybe that would help those in power, change makers, to see that, okay, this is not something that we need to take lightly. 18.5 million is it's really crazy. It's really crazy. And like you said, out of that 18.5 million, 55% are made up of primary school kids, which is, like the foundation of of anything. Like they say, if the foundation is not right, definitely the chances of the building standing is very slim. So just to highlight a few things to help us understand how important education is, and this is a quote from Kofi Annan. He said, "Knowledge is power, information is liberating, education is the premise of progress in every family and in every society." That just shows us how important education is. No country can achieve sustainable economic development, without substantial investment in human capital. And when we talk about human capital, we're talking about education, investing in education. Education enriches people. It enriches people's understanding of themselves and the world. It improves the quality of their lives and leads to broad social benefits to individuals and society. This is that what I just said was an excerpt from the UNESCO Education for Sustainable Development Goals in 2017. History have shown that countries that prioritize education, sets themselves up for long-term success. If you prioritize education, then that means you are actually preparing for the future. Let me just give you just an instance. Imagine you have 10 baby goats, kids. You have 10 kids. The plan is for you to, sell them at the maybe at a festival or something, and you don't take care of these kids. You barely give them water, you barely give them food, you barely take care of their health. What would you expect happens to them at the time where you want to actually use these things? There will be nothing to show for it. You'll probably be taking sick goats to the place, to the festival, or that just summarizes what we are actually facing right now. Not really paying attention to to the number and high percentages of out of school children that we have. According to World Bank education overview in 2023, education is the strongest instrument for reducing poverty, improving health, and also gender equality and stability. I know you did mention about the disparity, out of school children, the girl child being making up a larger percentage as well. So that's just this is just what I said earlier, is just to help us understand how important education is. And going back to your questions about the implications of this out of school children, this is this just makes up for a generation missing out on education. A generation missing out on education means we are losing our future farmers. We are losing our future engineers. We are losing our future doctors. Because, just put it into perspective, like you said, 18.5 million. The number just keep playing in my head, and I just keep picturing number of kids just out there without a future, which is really scary, very scary, like I said. So the implications we are looking at is now we will be struggling with future farmers. Who are the people that are going to take our agriculture forward? In some 20 years, who are the people that are going to be in the agricultural sector? Who are the people that are going to be in our medical sector if we are not taking care of these kids right now? So part of the implication is that we'll be missing out on future generations of farmers, of engineers, of doctors. And from what I mentioned earlier, education is a proven pathway out of poverty. Just like Mandela said, education is the greatest weapon you can use to change the world. That is how important education is. So part of the implications is right now we are, without providing education for these kids, we are entrapping them in poverty, keeping them poor. Without education, those in rural dwellers cannot prosper. The girl child will still be trapped in poverty. And another thing is, out of school children, part of the implications is this leads to, high crime. Let me use Oyo State, for example. The percentage of out of school students in Oyo State is about 20%. About 20%. So let me use Oyo State where I'm at as a case study. So those 20% right now, what are they going to turn into in the next 20 years? You're not providing these kids with education. You're not providing them with the basic things they need. What do you expect these kids to turn into in some 20 years? You would see those that will go into crime. You will see those joining terrorists. You see those involving into things they're not meant to do. And that is because we have not helped them prepare for their future. We have not built them, we have not provided them with the basics which they need, to be able to progress in life. So these are part of the implications we'll be looking at considering these high numbers. We should be looking at, high rate of crime, serious insecurity, social unrest. These are the things we'll be looking at. What are the causes of this out of school children? The fact that I've been able to experience firsthand what it feels like to live in rural areas. Poverty is a really, really big factor, that I will mention. I've seen those in rural areas who can afford, 2 square meal. So how would you expect that person to send their kids to school? So part of the causes of this out of school children, number one that I would highlight is poverty. Poverty, and how can we get out of this poverty? By education, helping these kids, educating them, providing them with the basics. So part of the causes, number one that I will highlight is poverty. It is really a big challenge, Kids can afford to pay for fees, to get uniforms for the kids and all other things. Another thing that I will highlight would be cultural barrier. For the out of school children, those with the largest percentage are those in the northern part. When you're talking about states like Kebbi, Sokoto, the northeastern part of Nigeria, they have the highest number. And I would say, cultural barrier is also a factor. We know we must have heard about, some sect of people not buying into the idea of formal education. So it's a cultural thing. They don't really believe in formal education. So I would say that is also part of the causes of having this high number of kids. They don't value the fact that kids should go to school. Early marriage for the kid, for the girl child, and as soon as you get into, you're married, automatically there's nothing like you going into school or getting education. So some don't believe in formal education, like I said. And so I like another one would be, poor infrastructure and shortage of teachers. These are things I've experienced firsthand. The school that I'm currently, adopting and helping right now, the first time that I went to the school, it was in a really, really dilapidated structure. I can't even imagine kids being taught in that school. Imagine if the building collapsed. There are a lot of cracks and everything. That is not a conducive place for kids to learn. You don't expect kids to be able to really get and grasp what the teachers are teaching them in that kind of structure. And again, we don't have really experienced teachers. No shades, but yes, we have teachers, but however, they're not really experienced. The government are not providing them with updated trainings and all that. So in a school of over 100 kids, you're having just one teacher managing them. That's ridiculous. How can the teacher be able to, oversee all of them? And the last one that I will talk about would be, ineffective use of funds. Ineffective use of funds. Yes, the policy are there, but are they being implemented in the right way? The budget allocated for education this year is about, I think, 1.54 trillion to education. This is below the recommended percentage that UNESCO recommended. UNESCO recommended that each country should allocate about 15 to 25% of its budget to education. And from that 1.5 trillion, Nigeria have always been between 5% and 7%. That is what we allocate to education. That is not even up to half of what UNESCO recommended. So even this little money now that they are even putting out, it is not going to the right channels. How many good schools do we have? You still see the kids paying. Only a few get access to free education. They're paying a lot of money. The money meant to go to the school are being diverted to somewhere else. Corruption is a really big thing. I was listening to Dangote yesterday, and he was talking about a few things, about, this country can turn around in 5 years. Yes, I really actually believe that. And he did make mention of corruption. Yes, corruption is everywhere. And one of the things he said is, if those that are taking our money choose to spend that money in this country, keep this money in this country, then there would be economic development. Not you taking that money outside. If you're taking this money and you are just investing it in your own community, that is development. But rather, the level of corruption is really crazy. The money being allocated, this 1.5 trillion being allocated to education, how much is actually going to where it ought to go? So all these are causes of this high numbers that we are having, and it is something that the government really needs to be intentional about if they really want progress for this nation. And this takes me back to the first thing I said. Any reasonable person that has the good intentions of his country at heart would really pay attention to these high numbers, because they're really scary, and this is us setting ourselves up for failure if we don't really look into it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the robust response. I really like that you took different quotes, Kofi Annan, World Bank. The one of Kofi Annan stood with me. Knowledge is power, information is liberating, education is the premise of progress in every society, in every, family. I love that, you spoke about UNESCO. You gave a vivid, example using analogy, the implication of out of school children, right? Whereby they are basically having no foundation, right? These children, they are our future generation, and if you are not educating them, So what is our future going to be like, right? And even for agriculture itself, agriculture is the bedrock of civilization, is even the mainstay of the Nigerian economy, right? And if you
Right.
people that will be, pursuing lucrative career, working in the sector in the future. So what is going to be of our agriculture in the future, right? And the implications, like you said, poverty, high crime, insecurity, and social unrest, right? So these are some of the implications that we could be seeing, but we are not praying to be seen. We need to commit to urgent, address of this situation. And I got to know about the courses, that you've laid out. And one important one that you mentioned is poverty. In fact, you made me see the relationship between poverty and education, right? Poverty is causing education. A lack of education is causing poverty. So they are mutually um, impacting each other. And
Yeah.
you made me understand the role of cultural barrier, especially in the region where we have the highest number of out of school children in the north, KB State and others, for reason of not valuing education, early marriage, and also talking about poor infrastructure, using an example of where you were teaching, which spur this your interest in actually providing standard learning and teaching resources, right? Because you couldn't imagine that someone could be learning under such environment. You just had to do something. And now talking about shortage of teachers and ineffective use of funds, right? If you are saying, okay, the budget to agriculture is not where it's meant to be, but it's improving a bit. But what is improving? We are not even seeing the impact. Then we have to ask questions that where are the monies going, right? So we have to
Yeah.
evaluate things.
I'd like to quickly jump in on something. I would like to commend, states like Lagos State. Lagos State has like the lowest percentage of out of school children. I think about less than 5% or so. And this is really commendable. And I think from the whole statistics, I think maybe Anambra State has the lowest, but I just want to commend the Southwestern State and also Oyo State. Like I said, Oyo State has about 20.9%. This is an it's a good development from previous years, which was about 25%, 24%. So in the past years, there's been this decrease shift, which yes, this is something to applaud, but they need to do more. They need to do better. From this 20%, maybe in the next 2 years, if we look at the statistics again, we should be getting maybe like, you know, 15% is not bad, little by little till we can put it to zero. If I was to compare this to the out of school children in the US we have less than 1%, I believe. Or, just going off the head, let's just say 2%, less than 2% of out of school children. That's what we have. So, there's more for them to do. They can do more, and the government really needs to be very intentional about, promoting quality education for everyone.
Thank you so much for the addition, right? It's very important to load states that are doing well, like you've mentioned, Lagos State, and and to also ensure that they put more efforts by giving them the necessary praises. And Mr. Adebayo, like we've seen, the situation of out of school children is critical based on our previous discussion. You know, the implications frightening, and it's important that we must approach with urgency, right? I understand that agricultural engagement and education is a way this can be combated. But I want to ask you, right, do you really think there's a role for agriculture and agricultural education to play in reducing and eradicating this? Do you think agricultural pursuit style of intervention can be and or is more effective? I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that question. I wouldn't claim that agriculture education is the only or even the best solution, for all the challenges we're facing regarding, the out of school children, but however, agricultural education is one of the most practical and impactful pathways that we can pursue to help transform, lives and mitigate the implication of this crisis that we're facing. And when we talk about agriculture education, when I go to the US, I got to know about the three component model, the three component model of agriculture education. This comprises of the classroom and laboratory instruction, the supervised agricultural experience, and then you have the FFA and voyage. So the classroom and laboratory instruction kind of provides kids with the foundational knowledge about agriculture, provides them with the theoretical aspect, the foundation of agriculture. Then the second aspect is the supervised agricultural experience. This kind of exposes kids to real life world experience, real life experience where you are connected to a supervisor who kind of helps you with whatever project it is you want to go into. Maybe you want to start a farm, maybe you want to start a small garden, maybe you want to start raising kids. That is what the supervised agriculture experience covers. And the last aspect is the 4-H and FFA, which kind of helps you when it comes to leadership characteristics and preparing you for the future, preparing you for a career in agriculture. So this three component model encompasses the whole of agriculture education. So I would say it's a very good approach. We can use agriculture education to solve a whole lot of challenges which we are facing. Looking at the student-based agricultural education model, this kind of leverages on hands-on learning, experiential learning that is directly relevant to rural children's lives, and this kind of makes school fun. This is the way we can engage the kids, teaching them about agriculture, making it fun, setting up a school garden, having animals that they can raise and all that. And also, agriculture education is a really good way in which you can teach STEM. I was reading a publication, and indeed, it's a very good way of teaching STEM. We know how STEM is a really big thing right now. They're trying to make sure kids know very much about science, technology, engineering, mathematics. But come to look at it this way, we have agriculture education. Setting up a school garden reinforces all of this. Watching how a plant grow kind of reinforces what science is all about. You see the kids taking care of the soil, that kind of reinforces science. Technology, when it comes to the STEM, through agriculture, we see the kids coming up with early irrigation system. This kind of touches the tech part of the technology, the engineering part, the tech, the engineering, irrigation. You see the kids coming up with simple technology which they can use to improve, practices on the garden. Mathematics, agriculture teaches mathematics. You learn about your plant spacing. Okay, what is the spacing? How many seeds am I meant to plant per hole and all this? So agriculture education does this. It's a very good way of teaching STEM. So it is very important. It is something that we can leverage on if we do our bit when it comes to agriculture education. Those in the STEM field are doing their bit. Those in the science field are doing their bits. That way, we'd be able to solve the problem which we are facing. Agriculture education is also something which you could use to teach life skills to people, to kids. Agriculture education equips kids with life skills, entrepreneurship, all you could think about. The kids start the farm. Now they're learning about discipline, they're learning about patience, they're learning about how to care for animals. All of these are building not just what they're growing, but it's building them personally, building their discipline, building building the way, the way they see life. Now they're able to build this entrepreneurship mindset, because yes, what I'm growing, okay, how can I make money out of it? This is what agriculture education can do. It also helps promote food security and nutrition. Now we have people, the school gardens, what they're growing, they're making sure they're growing good and nutritious crops. And with the fact that they're growing it, that means they are eating, what they're growing, they're selling it. This is in one way, helping tackle the issue of food security within their community. And when we say food security, what do we mean? This is a situation whereby everyone has access, to healthy, safe, and nutrition food at all times to help them, nourish their body. So this is what agricultural education can do. It can help promote, food security, and also help improve food nutrition when it comes to, uh, living a healthy life. Agriculture education can also help with youth empowerment. I was reading a publication. I was just reading the news, and I saw this initiative that the government just started. It's a federal government scheme. Grow what you eat. I think they just unveiled it. About 20 schools are involved right now. They've started in Abuja. 20 schools, they grow what you eat. Secondary schools, they have like a school farm, a school garden. This is what agricultural education can do. Youth empowerment programs. We need to see more of these initiatives like this. We know Lagos State has things like that. And when we talk about youth empowerment program, this is where the issue of 4-H as well, comes in. This 4-H model kind of helps build responsible citizens, helps improve them with their leadership skills and all that. So agricultural education, in conclusion, I'll say agricultural education is a proven and adaptable strategy, that can help re-engage, these out of school kids and children, especially in rural areas. It offers practical skills, it improves nutrition, it promotes food security, and it creates a pathway for employment and entrepreneurship. So I believe agriculture education is a really, really, really good aspect which we can use to battle the issue of the out of school children which we're experiencing right now. And the uh, Minister of State for Education, the initiative they started with those 20 schools. These are what we want to see, having more of such initiatives, and not just doing it now. Monitoring and evaluation is very important. How are this program, faring? Are they doing well? What can we do better? Doing a very good needs assessment. Is this what these kids really need? What kind of crops are they meant to grow? Carrying them along, not just saying, oh, we want to bring this initiative to you. This is what we want you to do. No, is it in line with the interest of what these kids want? So to round it off, I believe agricultural education is a really good style which we can use, and it's a really good intervention that we can pursue and use to help solve part of the issues with out of school children. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you for that explanatory response. Right, it really helps a lot. Helping to understand that agricultural education is effective. In bringing about participation for the kids, and also helping to eradicate some of the social mishaps. Right. I love that you are saying that although agricultural education is important and is effective, but it's not the sole remedy to what we are seeing, that it has to be holistic. But I like that you're able to, pushing for agricultural education, letting us to know some of the benefits beyond how we see it. We can promote STEM education, right? And where you spoke about some things like classroom and laboratory instructions, right? Supervised agricultural experience. Then you brought in the 4-H that really deals with leadership, helping to build responsible citizens, right? So, and you also spoke about how the agricultural education can help to inculcate youth empowerment, and you gave us some couple of examples as with the FG initiative that started in Abuja, in partnership with about 20 schools, right, whereby they grow what they eat, and in that way we are able to reach food security at individual level, household level, and national level. And you are calling, promoting that it should be expanded, nationwide, and it shouldn't be just left at that. There should be monitoring and evaluation to ensure that the program is actually delivering the expected promises, right? And also seeing the lapses and how we can remedy those lapses, right? So those are the things that I'm able to pick from your response. Thank you for that. So I'll just proceed to the fourth question of the day. You know, as we have discussed the agricultural intervention, I'm being reminded of this controversy involving children in agriculture, and I'm sure you know what I want to talk about, right? And I want you to share your thoughts honestly on this. And is the issue of child labor that I'm talking about. About 160 million children are involved in child labor across the world, and 60% of these occurs in agriculture. So this labor can result in extreme mental and physical harm for children. You know, children engaging in agriculture and child labor are now seen synonymous, right? It makes solving educational gap with agricultural education difficult. Could you explain what it means by engaging children in agriculture? I suspect that there is a misconstrued understanding that needs to be addressed here. I would like to hear from you. Thank you.
Something something just came to mind when you talked about child labor, you know, in agriculture education. It's it's very funny. Let me I won't go into details about the school or this thing, but yeah, I visited this school in a rural area. Yeah. This is really this happened. And this still just boils down to the fact that, lack of education, lack of training, lack of proper training for teachers that are meant to teach these kids. And, some of them are not, they're not even aware that, this is child labor. So yeah, I went to the school, I went to see the head principal, we're just talking, I was trying to organize like a workshop for the kids. And I was in the school and I spoke to him like, where are the kids? It was like, I'll speak this in Yoruba, but I'll translate. And local, the kids are at the farm. I was excited, like, oh yeah, that's cool. I was like, what are they doing? And it was like, no, they are on his farm, they are helping him harvest cassava. They're helping you harvest cassava. Can you imagine? And these are primary school kids we're talking about. They're helping you harvest cassava. You know the rigorous work it is to harvest cassava, the digging, then getting the tuber out of ground, and then the kids will put it in a bucket and then walk like close to maybe half a mile from where the farm is to where they're gonna bring it to the school. But the funny thing, I would say that is child labor because now the kids are doing inappropriate. The task is given them. Is not age appropriate. One, you are not letting these kids learn in class. Now they're doing your personal work, and so I won't say it's a misconception. In all honesty, it happens, and the thing is just that most people are not aware that they are actually putting these kids, or they're actually using these kids as child labor. You understand? But just to help the people listening, let me just give a definition according to International Labour Organization. Child labor is defined as work that is mentally, physically, socially, or morally dangerous and harmful to children or interferes with their schooling. So taking that back to the thing that I stated earlier with that head teacher, having the kids go work in its farm to help. And it just doesn't stop there. I went to a boarding school, and there's sometimes you go visit your guardians and all that, and they put you to do some tasks and some other things like that. This is this is lack of proper education. They're not aware that, they're putting these kids under child labor. These are not what the kids are meant to be doing. So, but when it comes to agricultural education, this is very different. And with what we are doing and how we are promoting education, we are not engaging these kids in activities that are not age appropriate. You know, our 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 program and agriculture education, which we're trying to push, it focuses on empowering and protecting, children through age appropriate activities. When it comes to school-based agriculture education, students are being supervised on hands-on activity, like our 4-H model we're doing. The kids are on the farm, they're preparing beds. You're not having them do things that are too strenuous, something that you yourself cannot do. You're not having the kids do it, but that is not what we are doing. We're making sure, the kids are doing age appropriate activities and not as a form of labor. The aim is to educate them and not to exploit them. And part of the ways which we can really look into these issues. And another thing that I want to put into perspective when it comes to child labor, what really matters is the intent. Why are you making this child do this thing? What is the intent? Are you doing it to help the child, or you're doing it for your own personal gain? That is very important. So that's with that intent, you would know that, okay, no, what I'm doing is to be able to help this kid develop. Then that crosses out the issue of child labor. But if you're doing it just for your own self, having the kids where the kid is meant to go to school, you're telling the kid to go to the farm to work. We understand the rural setting and everything. Yes, they need to eat, but education is important. There is time for everything. When you're depriving this child, the it is or right, to education, then you are committing something really, really wrong, which we would term as, child labor. So just to help solve the issues of this, it is very important to create awareness. We need to work with parents, we need to work with teachers, we need to work with the community leaders to raise awareness about the difference between, learning and labor. It's very important to educate them. Like I said earlier, the ed teacher didn't see anything wrong in it. It feels the children are just working. And yes, some of them are excited doing it. Kids, they have this curious mindset and they're excited doing it. But at the end of the day, this is not an age appropriate um task that you should let the child be doing. So it is very important for us to keep creating awareness, talking to parents, the teachers, the community leaders, letting them know that, okay, this is what the child is meant to do. Make sure the child is doing what it's meant to do, not doing something out where it's meant to be in a class and is out there doing something, going to fetch water, walking like maybe 2 miles away to get something where the other classmates are in class. So it is very important. And here at Backed Farm, we adhere to strict guidelines when it comes to, child labor and all of that. We're making sure, the activities that these kids are doing it's age appropriate. And the reason why we are doing this is to empower these kids and to protect them. We are not doing it to exploit them. Whatever it is they do, whatever crops they grow on the farm, whatever animal it is they rear, they go ahead to selling this farm produce for themselves, which in turn, helps them with their entrepreneurship and also financial literacy. The animals, and they eat from all these things that they get. So we are not exploiting these kids. But back to the general question, child labor in agricultural education, it sure happens. It sure happens, but it is very important to keep educating these people, creating the awareness that the kids you're working with, whatever task it is you're giving them, it is age appropriate, and you're not depriving them, you're not exploiting them. However, you are empowering them and making sure that this activity that you're making them do, it is to better them and not just to exploit them. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Something that I appreciate about every of your response today, you're always giving examples, analogy, and you address
Mhm.
the questions appropriately, right? So what I'm able to take from here is that the first thing to delineate between child labor, and agricultural participation for children, agricultural education is the intent, right? What is the intent behind engaging them in agriculture? right? Agricultural education, is it, for learning, or is it to exploit them? And in many cases, the children don't even know that they are being exploited, right? And like you have said, they have this enthusiasm, energy, they are being creative, they just want to explore, right? And it's why it's important, like you've mentioned, that we have to work with the teachers, parents, to create awareness on this and the implications. In fact, like you've mentioned, that many of the teachers, they don't even know what qualifies as um, child
Child
labor, child
labor.
exploitation. So if you're able to educate them and help them see the implication of this, maybe we'll be able to eradicate this. And I, love that you said that child labor, the intent is to educate, not to exploit, and the children are being engaged in age appropriate activities, using example of your own firm and of your own, agricultural activities with the children, right? And is more of being beneficial to them. They are gaining knowledge, they are gaining something, and is improving their entrepreneurship skills. At the end of the day, the outcome, the product, they get to enjoy it, make money from it, cultivate excellence, and even meet their own food security. When they grow this and their parents are seeing what they are doing, they are happy and they want them to participate more in this. So I really, like that you are lending, your voice to eradicating child labor, right? You are saying it's not good. It shouldn't be something that we should be doing. We have to create more awareness. We have to work with teachers, with parents, with schools, and also other concerned bodies in this aspect. So if you have been listening to us, we will start taking some questions, and I think that based on what we have discussed so far, we should be having some questions. Although I'm not even able to see if this podcast is public or not, because there's been a bit of technical issue, and it's
Oh, well,
just
I could see a few people watching here. I could see a few people joining, so
all right. Okay.
I believe people
Yeah.
people are
So
people are
I will
there.
just proceed to the next question, right? So this question is actually very important. So I sincerely want to understand, the importance of children in agriculture. You spoke about what it means to engage children in agriculture, but do people really understand the importance of children, young people in agriculture? All right. So many people believe that agriculture is for adults and elderly participation, that children do not have a place in it. Perhaps they see it as physical endeavors and things beyond the mental reach of children and young people, right? So, we want to know what is the unique importance, the role of children in agriculture. What are the creative and non-laborious ways to engage children in agriculture?
Yeah, thank you for that question. You know, coming out here to the US kind of exposed me you know, to a whole new perspective of things. You know, children in agriculture, the importance of children in agriculture, and not just agriculture now. We've been talking about agriculture education and how education in general, is important, and education is the most powerful weapon which we can use to transform a nation. Now imagine my vision at Bax Farm is to develop rural communities through agriculture. And one of the ways I plan on doing that is by promoting quality agriculture education among rural dwellers and kids in primary school. We did talk about the out of school children, totaling to about over 15.5 million kids who are out of school. And out of this 18.5 million, 55% make up for about primary school students who are out of school. Let me just, paint this perspective. That 55% now, like I said earlier, in the next 20 years, what would they become? Nothing. Then what happens to the agricultural sector? We don't have people to, help us move that sector forward. And like I said, the foundation of any building, the foundation of anything is very important. It's very important. If the foundation is right, the possibility of a building collapsing is very slim. If the foundation is right, the possibility of a building collapsing is very slim. I told you I've had the opportunity of working with adults, and it can be really challenging, having to change their perspective, their perception, something that they've held on to for a long time. Being able to change that can be difficult. But for kids, you're able to mold them at a very young age. That is how important children are when it comes to agriculture. I can't remember going to a school farm in my primary school. I can't remember. But yeah, secondary school, yeah, I remember we had a school farm and we had this very strict very strict teacher, Mr. Dio, But yeah, what I'm driving at, it is very important to have children in agriculture. Children play a vital role in shaping the future of agriculture, especially in rural communities. It is very important. Early engagements build lifelong skills, engaging them at a very early age. I had the opportunity when I was out here in the US. I had the opportunity of going for a conference. It's called Junior AgMech Show, Junior Agricultural Show. You need to see what these kids are building. I was blown away. Kids from the ages of like 8 o'clock. Imagine a kid building a boom sprayer. Imagine a kid building like a fire pit. Imagine a kid at that age already knowing how to weld. When it comes to carpentry, they're already able to, build things. This is why the US and other developed countries, are doing well in different sectors because, they are preparing the foundation for the kids. They know how important it is, to 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 provide these kids with all the things they need because they know they are the future of tomorrow. I was talking with my friend. He's doing his he's a doctor right now. He did nuclear physics. So he saw me when I posted about the junior agnes show that I went, and I was fascinated and participated. I was sharing pictures and images of the things the kids built, and it was like, am I surprised that is how it is in all the sectors out here? When it comes to those in technology, they are doing wonders. When it comes to those in science, those in physics, they are doing wonders. When it comes to those in robotics, they are doing wonders. So it's not just agricultural sector alone, but how here they understand the value of and importance of kids and foundational knowledge. So they are providing these kids with the foundational knowledge and everything. You know, Importance of children as in agricultural education again, youth serves as agents of change, just like me and you, just like you right now. That is what you're doing. The knowledge you've been able to gather from from your secondary school up until till your graduate um you know level, that is what you're trying to pass on. Imagine we have 100 people like you. Imagine we have like 1,000 people like me. Imagine the kind of impact we'd be able to make. So it is very important for us now to keep letting those in place of power, letting them know that it is important to provide these kids with proper quality agricultural education. And let me not just say agricultural education, but I'm saying that because that is what we're focusing on, all aspects, science, technology, engineering, mathematics. Because yes, we can't rely on agriculture alone. We know we need those that will be great engineers for us to help us build, very good tractors and all things that would make agriculture something easy. So it is very important. And securing the future of our food. Imagine we don't have feed in agriculture. Who's going to feed us? Are we going to rely on importing food? No, we can't. So all of this shows how important it is to mold these children and starts from the very early age, like from the elementary education. Let them start having that fire, that zeal about pursuing a career. It doesn't have to be agriculture, like I said, whatever, but providing them with that basics and foundation shows that children are really important when it comes to agriculture education. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. I really do think that one thing that I'm able to take from this, the importance and role of children in agriculture is foundation, right? But the way that we see foundation in our region is more like is geared towards just production alone. They are the foundation of production. We are not really seeing agriculture, that agriculture is beyond just production alone, producing food. Agriculture is a system connected to other systems, right? Agriculture is an activity. Agriculture is also an activity to enjoy, right? It might not even necessarily be producing food, but helping to conserve biodiversity, right? Doing things right, helping to ensure that uh, there are bees, they are pollinating white flowers and all that. At the end of the day, when you look at it's still part of agriculture, yeah, but it's not having this sort of output production, but it's helping to conserve, species, environment, the ecosystem, right? So that's another way for us to look at agriculture, I believe. And and looking at agriculture itself is a way for kids to actually, develop life skills, like you've mentioned,
Yeah.
right? It's not necessarily about uh, developing them to produce food, developing them to be useful for themselves and be useful for the society beyond just producing food, right? And like you've mentioned, agriculture is interconnected with other fields. At the way you approach agriculture, the kind of education that you develop from it, you can use it to uh, you can use it meaningfully in other fields as well, like you've mentioned. So thank you so much for helping the audience to understand the real role and importance of children and young people in agriculture. So I go to the next question. So this question is basically, we are moving into your firm, your organization, right? So in regard to the agricultural education that we've been discussing, I'd like to know more about your firm's agricultural education, from your lens. You are the CEO, you are the one running the whole show here, right? Even when you have uh, the team that you are working with, but you understand it more better, founding the company, and understanding the vision and the mission. So I like to know what you really do, how you are using agriculture as a change tool in rural community and for education. I also like to understand what this core element of your project 4H is about. You whatever we say, you keep coming back to the 4H, and I guess is a core element of what you are doing in your organization. What major impact have you achieved and challenges you have faced with operation and receiving the appropriate support, with this your uh, course? I would like to know.
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. Yeah. So yeah, Bani Agri Business Solutions, it's an organization I founded in 2018. And like I've said earlier, why the reason is to help rural people. I had my undergrad in agricultural extension and rural development, so I've had this love for rural development, and agriculture is one of their major occupations. So everything just aligned. How can I help this? How can I help develop rural communities? And that came about my vision, for the organization, which is developing rural communities through agriculture. Creating an environment where young people can thrive and lead positive change. And one of my missions to achieve that is by promoting quality agriculture education, empowering kids with knowledge, skills, and confidence they need to transform their lives and their community. It's one community at a time. And going on to what brought me out here to the US, how can I promote quality agriculture education? I came across, the 4-H model being practiced in the US for over a century. It's been in operation for over 100 years. And it's been presently, it's in over 50 countries, and in Africa, we have in Nigeria, but it's not really functional like it ought to be. But in places like Ghana, Liberia, Kenya. Tanzania, they've adopted this 4H model and it's really working for them. So we are I decided to research on this 4H model to see how I can use it to help improve the life of these kids, provide them with quality agriculture education. And we've been able to achieve this. And we are focusing on four core major elements when it comes to trying to empower these kids uh, and put them on the right path and prepare them for the future. We are achieving this through the 4H program, whose core essential elements are we have four core essential elements, which is belonging, mastery, independence, and generosity. This is the four core essential elements which we're trying to impact into this kid. Let me break them down so we can better understand. When we talk about belonging, we are creating a conducive environment for these kids, making them feel belong, making them feel like, yes, this is my own. If you have that feeling that, this program we are doing, it is made for me, then you feel accepted. And that is what we want to do with the kids. We want them to feel affected. We want them to feel like they belong. Whatever it is we're doing, we're not just throwing out a program to them. We're not just throwing out, okay, this is what we want you people to do. We carry them along. We try and find out what their interests are. Okay, what are you interested in? Oh, I like to grow this. I like to raise animals. I like to do this. Then we gather all of that and we use that, to come up with a program for them. And when they come, when they see that, okay, this is what we're doing, they feel, yes, okay, this is what I told my teacher that I liked, and that is what we're doing. They feel connected to it. They feel heard. Like, yes, this is what we're doing. So belonging is one of the essential elements. We make the kids feel at home. And the next one is mastery. Okay, this is what you want to do. How can we help them to become masters of that skills that they want to learn? Is it agriculture? Is it entrepreneurship? Whatever it is that they want to do, is it rearing of animals? Whatever it is it sewing? We help them to become masters of that thing that they want to learn, which takes us to the third essential elements that we are riding with while delivering our agriculture education program. That is independence. Now they feel belong. Now they've mastered the skill. How can they be independent? How can they use what they've learned? Okay, now I'm independent. These things that I've learned, how can I turn it into something good? How can I use it to benefit myself and my immediate community? Independence. Now they are independent. They don't need someone to supervise them anymore. Now they can just, make decisions by themselves. Now they are leaders. They are confident, they can take responsibility for their action. And the last one is generosity. This helps them to have empathy for people, have empathy for their community. It's a different thing for you to have learned all this and then you're not ready to give back to your community. You're not ready to give back to your society. So we're teaching them about generosity as well. This sums up the four core elements which we are running with in this 4H program, which we are teaching the kids in the organization, which is belonging, mastery, independence, generosity. So by focusing on these four essential elements, we are not just teaching agriculture, we are nurturing well-rounded, confident, and responsible leaders in the agricultural sector. And going by, I know you did ask about the achievements that we've had. We started this pilot project. It's a pilot project, so we're still in the testing phase. We're testing the waters, see how everything works out. But so far, my team, they've been extraordinary. They've been, no, I can't commend them enough. They've been doing more than I asked of them. So, part of the achievement, we started the initiative, we took it to the school, and the school rode with it. They were really happy about the initiative. We did our needs assessment and everything, threw it to the principal, and they accepted it. And now we went to the kids, and they loved it. You know, we just didn't bring the regular teaching methods which they're used to. We brought about, improved teaching methods, Now they're getting to use projectors in their classroom. They have good teaching materials. The teaching methods in which we're even using to teach these kids is different from the conventional way which their teachers use. So they're always really interested, and we have about 46 students enrolled in our 4H program, which is a really, 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 really great number, for the first time, and you have that amount of number. So I see that as a really great achievement. Now we've been able to set up a school garden for the school, and it is functional, where we have, with the help of our farm supervisor, we are able to grow over 10 crops. We're able to grow sweet corn, peppers, ewedu, um, uh, bean, uh, carrots, and different crops. And we're not just doing it the conventional way. We're exposing them to its irrigation. They're doing the normal way, but we help them set up irrigation. We're able to set up a nursery for them as well. So all these are achievements that we've been able to make so far. We've been able to have volunteers join us, and we've been able to do volunteer training, and the volunteers are, they're really catching up on things, and things are moving pretty well. For the challenges we've been facing, number one would be funding. It's been quite challenging, having to do this by yourself, and just, trying to make sure everything goes smoothly, using the profit you get from the business, and putting it back into helping the kids, and pushing it forward. So funding has been a major challenge we've been facing. However, we're working on that, trying to see how we can apply for grants and get funding to help push the the initiative forward. And another challenge we've been facing would be finding really committed and dedicated volunteers. And in the nearest future, it's something I want. What actually motivates volunteers to do what they do? Because we need to know what motivates them. We need more people to join this work, to support what we're doing. And again, I'd like to commend, the volunteers that are working with me right now on my team. They are running along with the vision. See they see prospects in this vision and what we want to achieve, and they're giving it their all and doing all they can. So yeah, it's been it's been really good. So the challenges has majorly been funding and finding dedicated volunteers. But for the volunteers I have right now working with me, they've been superb and exceptional. Yeah, so that's it so far.
Thank you so much. I'm really proud of the work that you've been doing, you know, thus far, irrespective of the challenges with funding, you know, having committed volunteers. But I'm happy that you are able to, have dedicated volunteers and still able to achieve some results, and also looking forward to conducting research on it. Is a thing for you to be experiencing a challenge, is a thing to also be looking at how you want to solve that challenge, and is another thing to be looking at, what is making people, not want to volunteer, or what is the motivating and motivating them, right? So overall is really a heartfelt, communication from you, and I really love that you took your time to explain the 4H. I don't think no one would have explained it better to me. Like I have this very good understanding of the 4H now: belonging, mastery, independence, and generosity. I like the part of the generosity itself. Just having the knowledge and the skills without generosity is useless, and is
Yeah,
one of the problem that we are having in this world, is that it's not that there are not enough resources to go around, but the few that have access to the resources do not have enough generosity to allow those resources to go around, right? They could go around, but that's why we say, knowledge is not enough. You must be willing to give out of what we have, right? And I'm happy that, you know, you are saying that the young children, children, they are malleable, right? Unlike adults. So if you are able to instill this in their minds from a very young age, they grow with this, and they see others in need. They see a situation that they can offer solution to. They willingly do that without necessarily looking for any monetary reward, like that.
Yeah,
So
you're
I
absolutely right.
thank you so much for that. And I like that you explained what you do, your course, developing rural community through, agriculture, and also providing environment for young people to develop and thrive, right? Although we are not seeing much application of the 4-H in Nigeria, but you've said that we are seeing in Ghana, places like Ghana and Tanzania and all that. But I'm really happy that with you, when you come back to Nigeria, you'll be able to instill the 4-H in our school children. If you are doing
Yeah,
this for,
and
I wonder
yeah,
what you'll
just
be
to
able to do when you're around.
Yeah, just to add, I've been working tirelessly. I met with the 4-H director in Nigeria, and we've been talking, and hopefully next month I should be able to have meeting with other stakeholders to see how we can, you know, uh, revive the 4-H in Nigeria. They've been in existence, but it's been going up and down due to funding and all that. But, I've been working tirelessly with the 4-H director. It's been very helpful, and it's been trying to connect me as well with other stakeholders and other interested people. So we're trying to revive 4-H back in Nigeria and be right on the wave that I am moving on right now with the pilot project I'm doing, and see how we can revive it and make it a very good, solid model that would be adopted by the whole states in Nigeria. So yeah, we're working on that too.
Yeah, please keep working on that. I look forward to that. And I also like that, uh, although you are just piloting, the firm is relatively young, but if you're able to make a lot of impact, right? Talking about the improved teaching and learning methods, like there's a picture that I shared um, from your volunteers, from your work. You know, the students are in, let's say, an inconducive learning environment, but you're able to provide like a projector. They were seeing live chicken, and imagine
Yeah.
that we are having more of that. Over time, our education is going to improve. Our educational infrastructure as well is going to improve, you know, and you helping them to set up garden, growing diverse foods, immediate short-term crops, rather sweet pepper, ewedu, bean, carrot, right? For we to meet our food security, these are the kind of foods that we need. Imagine that we have homes committed to growing these foods. Their kids, they know how to do this. Okay, they are able to inculcate such understanding in their homes, help their parents cultivate this food. You're not saying that we have to produce all the food we eat, but at least the
Mm-hmm.
basic things that we
Yeah.
eat, and it will even help reduce the pressure, you know, of food on the budget, right? Let's say you want to make a yam with sauce, but you're able to take pepper, tomato, onions from your garden. Then you know that, okay, I will have to buy yam. At least the ingredients for sauce is gone, is out of
Yeah.
it, right? So thank you so much for that. I'll just go on to the next question. Uh, you know, okay, your organization strategy is simple, right? And sorry, I think okay. Yes, your organization strategy is simple and yet effective and impactful, despite the distance and flexibility. I like to know what you are doing different. How you are unique compared to other organizations, because there are quite a number of organizations pursuing similar course as you, and many they've been operating for quite some time, but they've not had this impact as yours. What sets you apart? Could you let us know?
Well, I would say firstly, yes, it's God, and I would say having a clear intention about what you want to do is very important. What drives you to do what you want to do. I'm not driven by money or, the fame or whatever it is. There's this genuine love and interest that I have when it comes to rural development. And I mentioned that earlier. I just want to see how we develop rural communities. How can we make sure that, people in rural areas are still living where they're living? You know, we we are able to avoid the whole rural urban migration. Imagine you're living in your rural community, you have electricity, you have roads, you still have trees surrounded by you. You have everything you need. What are you looking for in the city? The bustle and hustle. So that is my goal. My goal is to see how we can have a rural community that has all its basic amenities. Out here in the US, they call their rural community, they call it the countryside. Trust me, there are roads there. Even if the roads are not hard, the roads are, graded and motorable. There's electricity there, there's access to water. These are the basic things you need. And out here in the US, you would see a lot of people living in remote areas, like remote areas, very remote areas, but they have electricity, they have good road network. So what else do I want? Yes, I'm fine with my peace here. I don't want noise from anybody. I have my chickens playing music to me. I have my horses. I have my cows. And I have the basic things. If I need to sell my produce, not like I would have to worry about how to transport them. So the drive, what is the intention that is driving you to do this is very important. And I believe that one sets us apart. But the major thing again is the set of team that I have to work with, they've been amazing, and I just need to keep re-emphasizing on that. Having a solid team. If this, what's the word? If you want to go far, then work with someone. You know, having that team, they've been able to make the journey very, very, very very smooth and productive. The fact that I'm not in Nigeria and I'm out here in the US, we've been communicating steady. We meet weekly. Providing them with materials. We just concluded a 7-week volunteer training. For the volunteers back in Nigeria. So we are very intentional about what we're doing. And like I say, the set of team I have and volunteers that I have, they they really see the vision, you know, this vision aligns greatly with what they want to do as well. So they're giving it their whole. Things they don't know about, all of them don't know about 4-H. I had to bring it to them, provide them with materials and everything. And again, the project is not just about me, it is about the people. It is about the people. I just didn't bring this project to them. Like I said, I've been involved in rural community. I've been involved in different communities, and the community that I am actually working with right now, that's not where I'm from. Actually, I'm from Iseyin, but the community I'm working with is in Apapa Odon, or just Apapa Odon Akinyele. So that just shows that I'm not really concerned about just myself. I'm concerned about the whole rural space in general. So doing like your needs assessment, I just didn't come off my head, oh, I want to bring this. I met with the community leaders, I met with the ballet, I met with, the kids themselves. Okay, how can we do it? What can we do? And I was able to put all this together and see how we can come up with a program that would be for the people and not for me. So I believe these are the things that kind of sets us apart, and hopefully we'll continue to, do what we're doing. And part of our approach again is the eye context impact. We are not just doing this for a short term. We have what we call the low context impact, and we have what we call the eye context impact. The low context impact, we could term that as just maybe like a workshop where you just provide training to people and then that's all they go. But the eye context impact, you're with them all the way. And that is our plan with the kids as well. We just don't plan on teaching them and just leaving them. The plan is to keep mentoring them and keep helping them. So I believe these are all the things that kind of sets us apart. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. I would want us to discuss more on the high content impact, but let me quickly be assured that I got everything, and to you know make a summary for people that are listening to us, right? The audience. So I like that you have the drive that basically sets you apart. The intent, wanting to make the rural community livable and with basic amenities. So I like that you touch on that, right? Especially relating to the rural urban migration that we are having now, whereby we are having increased population in urban areas, putting stress on facilities there, infrastructures there, and we have those that are migrating from the rural areas are also farming population. So it's one of the problems that we are having, that if those that are farming our foods are living in the rural area, you know, what is the future of our food production, right? So,
Mm.
like you said, one of the problems that we're having is that the rural area is not conducive to live. If I have the roads, the markets, the health infrastructure, right, and I'm able to access all these things, what am I going to do in the urban area where there's everything to enjoy life, right? It's only in the global north and the developed west that I see people in stay in rural area. They are committed to staying there, and they are proud that they are staying there, and they are proud to be a farmer, right? You
Yeah,
can see a farmer in rural area, commanding large expanse of lands for
yeah,
production. You rarely see that here, right? It's
yeah,
basically
yeah.
just
So, yeah.
small older farming and all that. We have to change that out. But let me just go ahead with what you've also said. The intention is important. Are you doing it for yourself, or you are doing it for others, right? And your team also, the people that are volunteering, wanting to be part of it, they are passionate about it. And even when they don't know things about it, they want to learn. Like you said about the 4-H, they didn't know about it, but you introduced it to them, and over time, they did it very well. They were, manifesting it in a pleasing way, right? And you mentioned the low impact and the high impact. I said that um, I want us to discuss more on the high impact. So we'll just go to the next question. Um, so this question is actually important. We have discussed a lot of things, and for you, that you have this sort of privilege of multinational education and experiencing different societies, and able you are able to make comparison between two different climes, particularly like Nigeria and the United States, and Africa and North America, or the West in general. So I want to ask you that what you have observed with the way we approach education and for children, that is, what have you observed, that is different from where you are currently? What do you see in the US that is missing from Nigerian education, and if adopted, could transform the education in Nigeria?
Oh man, yeah. It's an eye opener, moving over to a developed country and seeing how things work. It you know it's very funny, being able, let me just, before I go to the elementary and secondary education, even as a master's student, the kind of interaction you have with your professor out here is different from the kind you have back in Nigeria. you know you see, yes, they're your advisors, they're your professors, but they see you as a colleague, they see you as a friend, and they are very intentional about your growth and your success. You know, you can easily go have a coffee with your course advisor and just, talk about random things, not just academically too, they're concerned about your mental health. How you doing? Do you want to drop this course? Should you take this course? So what I want to drive at is the US educational system out here is very, very student centered. It is very student centered, you know, compared to back home that, they just dump it on you. Go and learn this. They don't care if it's gonna help you or not. Yes, it's good, but it's very important, whatever it is you're doing, you're putting the students as the priority because yes, they are the priority. They are the people you want to learn. Not like, there's let me give you an instance. And I've seen a few people drop a few courses, out here doing a course. I might be doing a course with someone, and next thing the person is like, "No, I don't think I'm doing this course because it doesn't really align with what I want to do." And then they drop it. They meet the advisor, and the advisor, advises them and puts them through another route, and then they do it. So you're not hell bent on just having to do this because you have to do it. You're doing it because it aligns with your own personal visions and dreams that you want to achieve. So I think this is what we should really look into more in the Nigerian educational system. Whatever it is we're teaching should be more student centered rather than just, throwing whatever it is out there. And another thing is the curriculum which we're using back home. Most of the curriculums are outdated. The teaching methods are outdated compared to what we have out here in the US. They're really updated and their teaching method kind of promotes a lot of critical thinking skills. I've had the opportunity of attending a few workshops when it comes to teaching methods and all that. And trust me, all I was saying was if I was exposed to this kind of teaching at a very young age, I can't imagine what I would have turned into. I would have been. And this is not to downplay the Nigerian educational system. We're doing a fantastic job because I'm a product of Nigerian educational system and I'm happy for what I've been able to gather and, get. But, imagine being exposed to something even better. Imagine what you'd be able to give back to your community as a whole. So the curriculum we use back in Nigeria, some are outdated. The teaching methods we use, some are outdated compared to what we have out here in the US. And another thing that is very different will be the infrastructure compared to what we have back home. A conducive learning environment is enough to even help you think well. Imagine you are in a classroom, you're getting very good air conditioner blowing your head, there's no noise, everywhere is silence, you can think properly. You have all the materials you need, you can easily go to the library, get whatever you need. You have access to internet, you have your own personal computer that you could work on. Even if you don't have computer out here, you could go to the school and you could get a computer to rent for like the whole semester at a very subsidized rate. And some people even give students computers for free to use for the academic. All this infrastructure would help the students to become more productive. But we don't have that back home. We know enough university students that don't even have laptops. How much more those in secondary schools and primary schools. So infrastructure is also something that is very, very, the gap is very wide. And I'm sure you know about this, the institutions we did go to, we know what the infrastructure is like, we know what the facility is like. And also, all of these are what makes the difference. In the US out here, the from the primary elementary level, education is free. However, those are just for public schools. And I know schools are free too in Nigeria. You could correct me if I'm wrong, but I know the public schools are free, I think from primary school to maybe junior secondary. But you could correct me if I'm wrong. But however, you still get to pay some fees and all that. But that is how it is out here too in the US, the school system, the education is free, except you want to take your child to a private school. But then, their public schools here are, up to standard and everything, all you need, you can get. So those are the differences. And I think, this still all boils down to investing in agriculture. A country that invests in its agriculture sets itself up for success. a country that does not invest enough in agriculture isn't ready for the future. So this is a wake up call, it boils down to what we've been talking about earlier about, those in power, those in um, in place of power to look into investing more into agriculture, not agriculture alone now, look into investing more into education, the 1.5 trillion budget that has been allocated to education for this year is not enough. It is not even up to half of the recommended, 15 to 24% that UNESCO have recommended. So all of these things are what they should look into, and not just allocating the money now, making sure that yes, the money is going to the right place where it ought to go, and they are being utilized for what they ought to be utilized for, not just someone, taking the money and just, siphoning it somewhere and everything. So if we don't do all this, if we don't invest more into the infrastructure, invest more into teaching methods, invest more into training our teachers, because you need to keep training them. Things are going on. We are in the year of technology. We are in the era of AI right now. And, how many of our teachers are updated with AI? How many of them know the ethical ways of using AI and all that? These are all the trainings that should be made available to teachers. That way they will be better. They will be able to further, teach the people that they want to teach. So there's a big difference between the US educational system and the Nigeria educational system. But I believe, this is something the Nigeria educational system can catch up with. And we're smart people in Nigeria, very intelligent and all. Imagine we're providing all of the standards for our people. Imagine the great things we'll be able to do. So I hope things will get better. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. I don't even know what to say. You've touched on a lot of things, but me myself, studying in the UK, I saw the difference as well. And the major thing that I saw with the education there was that it was practical oriented. It's not just
Yeah,
about
yeah.
um,
Hands on.
just not about theory and certain examination questions that does not
Mhm.
make you think, allow you to expand your thinking faculty, your mind, right? Not just giving you divine this, list this or that. They put you
Mhm.
in a in a in a field scenario. If you are losing this amount in this company and you don't have this option or that, are you going to revive the company? I'm not asking
Mhm.
you to list 5 ways to revive a company. I'm asking you how you are going to revive the company. You get that? All right. And I also
Yeah,
like that you touched on the need to improve our infrastructure, to update our teaching and learning materials, teaching and learning facilities and all that, right? I like that you acknowledge that we are intelligent and brilliant people, and if we had access, to some of these enabling structures, support, we could do more, right? If we are doing this way without support, what do you think we'll be doing if we had the required
yeah.
uh,
True.
institute, right? So it's just so sad, and I'm just believing that we get to have people in the position of leadership, that are very passionate and are competent, have the capacity, to make the needed changes, based on
Yeah.
the knowledge that they have, they've been able to acquire. Because you get to wonder that a lot of the leaders, they are um, vast. They've gone to the best of schools, experience, had the best of experiences. Then they come home and they are not able to, or they fail to replicate, what they've learned. You
Yeah,
know,
that's it takes you to the four
the
essential elements which we talked about,
generosity.
generosity, you
Exactly.
know, it takes us if you have the good intentions of people at heart, you would make things you have the money available. You will make this happen, and you will make sure things are working smooth. But they just want to keep the people poor, and one of the way of keeping the people poor is not giving them access to education. And that way, if you don't give them access to education, you keep entrapping them in poverty, and that way they are not liberated, and you can continue to have power over them, which I believe that is their sole goal. So, but I'm
Basically,
not ready to dive into a lot of political issues and all that
basically,
because it's
basically,
very tiring.
basically poverty politics. And also, I don't want to dive into that, but I just want to quickly mention this: is that many of of those people, they've been sponsored for education using the public resources, public funds, right? And we are not seeing dividends of the public funds. Many that went on scholarship and all that, and it's just a sad situation. We have to move to the next question and get emotional. Um, so I just want you to, to give people advice. They are listening to us, the audience, many wanting to follow similar career as you, pursue similar mission as you. I know that you've spoken about, you know, clarity, right? I just
Yeah.
want you to, to expand on it more, give it a bit of flesh. What would you advise, that grants these people wanting to do the same thing as you, career clarity and make their dream of impact realizable? Like you've said, you know, this course is not only for one man, right? It's not only for one person to change Nigeria. We must put our hands together. You do your bit, you do your bit, and before we know it, we are able to make national impact. So I want you to advise people out there, that are pursuing similar course. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. Yeah, the number one thing I would say is start small. Start small. Your passion is valid, and start small. I'll give you real life experience, and this is me personally. In all honesty, it hasn't been easy. To be very sincere, it hasn't been easy. There are a lot of times that I battle with motivation to keep going. You know, and there are times I feel like I'm not doing enough, even when it is evident, the numbers are there that yeah, you're making progress, but within myself I just feel, no, I should have done beyond this, I should have done beyond that. All those feelings are very valid. Trust me, we're human. It's very normal to feel that way. But what sets you apart is being able to, manage those feelings and don't let those feelings override whatever it is you started doing. So be start small, start local, whatever it is you want to do. Like the 4-H project we started right now, I could just choose to start in like 5 schools, yeah. But no, and the one we started right now too, it's not like we've started full fledged. It is even still more like a pilot project. We're testing the water, see how it is, see how people accept it, see what we did right, how can we do this better. So, start small, start local. Your passion is valid, but real change requires patience. Real change requires patience. It requires planning, and it requires partnership as well. You know, focusing on one community at a time. The short-term goal that I have regarding this my organization and the 4-H club we started is to be able to have you know different schools have their own school enrichment programs when it comes to 4-H. Starting with Akinyele, we already have one school right now. You know, being able to extend that into different schools, but we are starting with one school. So this takes me back to what I said earlier. Start starting small, starting local, one community at a time. And trust me, before you know, things will start getting better. And again, document everything. It doesn't have to be in a very good structure, but document everything. Have somewhere you write it. Have somewhere that you can go back and be like, okay, this is what I did. Document everything you do. Build your network. Trust me, social media is a really, really, really great place to build your network. Keep putting your work out there. I've had the opportunity to meet with really great people on social media, LinkedIn. People have seen my work. People have reached out to me wanting to collaborate, wanting to see how they could support. For my 4-H program, we'll be having a patron soon, and this is of someone I met off the internet wanting to want to be a patron. Is out here in the US. He's a US citizen. He has been, he has gone through the ranks of 4-H and FFA, so he knows what the program is like, and is willing and ready to support and be a patron for the club. So this is what we're talking about. Connecting with people, putting your work out there. You know, tell your story. That is what social media is there for. Tell your story, however it is. Tell it. Document. Don't be afraid to ask for help. You know, I've done a few fundraisers and all that. I didn't get what I expected, but don't be afraid to ask for help. Yeah, it's better to ask for help and get turned down than not just to ask for help. Ask for help, and most importantly, never lose sight of why you started. And that go back to me. That is what has been driving me. How can I develop rural communities through agriculture? How can I develop rural communities through agriculture? Yes, different mission, how can you achieve this, are going to come along. But the reason why I started is to see how I can impact the life of those in rural dwellers. How can I do this using agriculture? So never lose sight of why you started. Progress may be slow, but consistency speaks volume. And that is what I believe, has been helping me as well, because I believe I've been consistent, you know, even when I feel motivated, when I don't feel motivated, I'm just like, I can't keep going. There's no money to do this. I need to do this. I need to do this. There's no money, but I just still keep being consistent and just showing up. So all of these things would help whoever it is, whatever it is you want to do. Start small, start local, document everything you do, put your work out there. Trust me, people are saying it. You might get maybe just one likes or whatever, the algorithm, it has a way of working. Just keep putting your work out there. People will see it and people will find you. And trust me, things are going to get better. Thank you.
That's really solid. That's really solid. So I'm just going to, you know, repeat it for the audience so it sticks, right? Start small, like Adebayo has said. And why you start small, understand that there are days you won't feel like it. And it's why it's important that you have to remind yourself about that. And if you are relying on motivation, it won't work. Your motivation will not be 100%. You need this discipline and obsession, right? So you have to be able to manage your feelings, and you have to inculcate discipline. I have to do it no matter how I feel, right? And he mentioned that you have to start local. You don't have to start everywhere. Start something. Start anywhere you have to start, right? Real changes requires patience, planning, partnership, you know, document everything is quite important. The essence of documenting, I've realized it for myself, that you are going to have your bull run, and after that bull run there will be time that you have the bear period. But if
Mm.
you don't write them down, it's very easy for you to forget the great things that you've done. But if you go
Yeah.
back to and you're seeing that, oh, I did this, wow. Sometimes you even forget that you have done a lot of great things.
Mhm.
That's
True.
the way mind works. You would have done a lot of things, achieve a lot, but one failure can bring someone down. But if you're able to retrace your book and you see that you've done a lot of things, it motivates you. He said that document everything. And social media is actually very good for documentation right now. You don't need to carry a book, just click
Yeah.
upload your work, right? Aside that, social media is also good for building network. You have to build network. And one thing that I've mentioned is to the essence of building network horizontally, not necessarily vertically. I mentioned in my previous lecture at the University of Ibadan, right? when you go to an event, a lot of people want to network with the top guys and all that. Many times, these are the people that you get their contact. They don't respond to you. They
Mm,
don't dump your
mm-hmm.
contact where they see your message. But the real people that you can relate with are, the staff, the daily workers, and all that. They can give you information. They can put in word for you with people that they know and all that, right?
True.
And also, tell your story. It's important that you keep telling your story so it sticks, and don't be afraid to ask for help. Uh, you
Mm,
know, ego is important for you to push forward. I can do this, I can do that. But there are some times where this sort of hubris sets in. You know, you need help. You can't do it alone, right? And don't be afraid to ask for the help. And never lose sight of what you started or why you started. Rather, why did you start? This is
yeah.
what will, this is your compass that will keep pushing you
Yeah.
when you forget. Okay, this is where I started. I want to empower our community. Okay. Uh, some people are frustrating my effort. No, this cannot impede me. I want to empower our community. I must keep going, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm able to do justification to that somewhere. So I'll just go back to, um, we are going to the last question now. You know, it's been really, really an insightful discussion with you, Mr. Adebayo Adeoti. Thank you
Thank you
so
very much. It's an honor to be here.
Yeah, for people that are listening to us, if you have any question or any contribution, you have the comment section. You can put that in before we go for our last question, right? But I want you to be rest assured that this particular discussion is being recorded and is going to be uploaded, the video on YouTube at the Last Kiddy Farmer podcast, and also the audio in case you are the audio person. You will also listen to it on Spotify and Spotify for podcasters at the Last Kiddy Farmer podcast as well. So whatever you've missed today, do not worry. It's recorded. You always listen to it, and you always get the best part of it, right? So I would assume that there are no questions and contributions, right? I will just go straight to the last question, right? So this last question, I was meant to ask that, what are the advice that you give to government, right? But you've touched on that. So, about previously, I asked a loaded question. You answered one of it, but you omitted the other, you know. And I'm going to ask you that it's basically about agriculture, right? It's almost a replica of the education question, being someone that have been able to experience different societies, seeing how agriculture is done. What do you think is being done differently in agriculture in the US and, you know, in Nigeria? What do you feel that we have to be doing you know, to raise the bar for our agricultural productivity output, returns that we get from our agriculture? I want to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, thank you very much. The real truth is another thing that I've gotten to understand is I think I created a post one time on my social media. You know, part of the challenges that farmers face out here, we also face back in Nigeria as well. You know, however, there is a lot of government support out here. I think that's what stands them out. You know, there is a lot of support, interest-free loans. It's very easy for farmers to get access to loans out here and all that, you know. But I would say they have access to up-to-date research. They know what's going on, what kind of crops should we grow right now, which one is going to yield more profit. They have access to information out here compared to back home. The complaints out here, I've met a few farmers and they've talked about market as well, not being able to get decent price from the market because, there's small scale producers, whereas, the big guys have already flooded the market that way, now they have to sell at a lower price and everything. You know, they face different challenges when it comes to policy out here as well. The farmers believe they're not being hard, you know. But this is different from what we're facing back in Nigeria. Nigeria is the total ball game. You are on your own. When it comes to Nigeria, you are on your own. So you're doing it yourself. You don't have that support. The market structure is crazy. Electricity to be able to even store your produce is not there and everything. Out here in the US, the infrastructure is readily available. There are a lot of things for you to do. Market is there that you can work with compared to Nigeria. So I won't negate the fact that they don't have challenges out here. Trust me, they have serious challenges. The smallholder farmers have challenges. Those those and when it comes to water too, New Mexico State where I'm at here, there's a time they shut the water. Where I am is New Mexico is close to the desert, so they have challenges with water and all that. So there's a certain time where the water is shut, like so they don't have access to water except you have your individual bowls and all that. And all those things are not something you can just easily do like Nigeria where you just sink a borehole. Here, there are a lot of things you need to do and all that, get water right and all that, compared to Nigeria that you can just easily sink your borehole and now you have water. So they have challenges with water out here in this New Mexico state where I'm at. So there's a certain time where you can grow a certain crop and they give you access to water. So the challenges are there, but they are different. So I would just leave it at that. But Nigeria has a lot to do when it comes to funding. The government needs to do major of the work when it comes to funding, making available input to make these things easy for farmers to be able to produce, you know. And we know about the prices of things going crazily, crazily, crazily high. I said I was listening to Dangote and he was saying in the next 40 months he wants to be the greatest producer of urea in Nigeria in the whole world, which should surpass Qatar. These are the things we want to hear. But now it's not just about them being the greatest producer of urea. Are we going to be able to afford it at a very reasonable price? It's not about us now producing the urea. Are we going to be able to afford it at a reasonable price? Where, okay, yeah, most of the money you are getting, you'll be getting it from exports. But your people here, they'll be able to afford urea at a really, really subsidized rate. The government needs to invest more into agriculture, put more funding at a subsidized rate. That way, farmers are not really at a loss when it comes to, investing. Agriculture can be really, really capital intensive. How many people have access to tractors and all that? How many people can afford to buy a tractor? But here, I see smallholder farmers, they have tractors, they have this, there are different payment plans where, you could go get a tractor and you're paying instrumentally and everything. And, all of that is available for them. So I believe the government have a really, really big role to play in agricultural sector by making things very easy for farmers to be able to afford. Yeah, so I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, for making us see that different societies, they have their challenges irrespective of how we think our own is severe, but we just have to get right the basic, right, the infrastructure, the facilities, the support, like you said, fund is important, and the role of generosity that we've been talking about, right? And I was listening to a beverage producer in the US. You were asking him that you've achieved a lot of product excellence, but the price of your product still remains the same. Why do you not raise the price of your product? Then he said that, why should I increase the price of my product? We are making profit. There's no need for me to charge more again. Why should I charge more? That's basically it. So
Mm,
the uh, the interviewer was surprised that, well, it's capitalism. You have right
mm,
to raise the price and make more money. He said, no, that's one of the things that we need here in
yeah.
Nigeria, the generosity. And it's actually quite important that we work towards food security and food sovereignty, right?
Mm-hmm.
Reason why I'm mentioning this is because of the fertilizer issue. And, fertilizer is one of the key challenge with producing, food sustainably and producing affordable food, right? Because although we manufacture fertilizer in Nigeria, but the input that we use for fertilizer production is being imported from places like um, Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, and we've seen that when there is issue like a conflict, Russia Ukraine war, it affects the supply chain, and it's one of the reasons why fertilizer is costly in Nigeria and why food is costly as well. So if you are seeing someone like Dangote coming up to say, okay, I want to produce fertilizer, I want to be the biggest producer and exporter of urea in the African continent and in the world, is a welcome idea, right? In
Yeah.
fact, in my recent post on LinkedIn, I mentioned the essence of the Dangote Fertilizer Company actually establishing partnership with other African countries. Because what we have seen is that those fertilizer components can actually be gotten from other African countries. Like
Yeah.
which phosphorus in Morocco, potassium salt deposit in places like Eritrea, um, what Ethiopia and all that. You understand? So
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to be importing, and even we have some of those deposits in Nigeria, Yobe State, Oyo, and when you look at what is being used to produce fertilizer, that's NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Nitrogen is basically gotten from liquefied natural gas, and we
Yeah.
have good deposits of natural gas in.
We have a lot.
So what I'm trying to say is that if Dangote says that he wants to do this, it's important, and as much as possible, he should exploit, domestic partnership. But please be generous with us.
Yeah,
Generous
that's
with
very important.
us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just want you to leave a lasting message for us here, for everyone listening to us. That is going to be impactful, right? Set our compass, our moral compass, our ambitious compass, right? So now we'll always be remembering that Mr. Adebayo Adeoti of Agribusiness Solution came to the Last Guinea Farmer podcast and was live on Facebook.
Like I've said earlier, it takes great intention, and we can make change from where we are. You don't have to be in a position of power. You don't have to be the richest to effect change. From where you are, from the little place that you are staying, you can effect change. How are you dealing with the people around you? How are you making their lives better? How are you making sure that, the next man is being able to live a good life? So it is very important, whatever it is you want to do, be intentional about it. Be intentional about it. What is the aim of you doing this? Are you doing it just for show, or you're doing it to really, make a change in your immediate community? And trust me, set your soul. There's a lot of good in you that you need to do. There's a lot that we need to do in the country. There's a lot we need to do in our communities. Find that thing you're passionate about. How can I help? How can I make this thing better? And trust me, with all the things we said earlier about starting small, starting local, documenting all the things you've been doing, trust me, the sky is just the beginning. So let us keep pushing, let us keep doing our bit, even when it feels like, we don't feel like going on anymore. Let us remember why we started. Let us remember that we have over 18 million kids that are out of school. It is not just about you. Think about the people out there. What would be the implication of all these things at the end of the day? Because we're pretty young, we're youths. What would the world look like for us in the next 50 years? Are we going to feel safe? Are we going to be happy with what has been done? If we know we want to really make that change, then we should start effecting what we need to do from right now. We don't need to wait till we get to a certain stage. Find what you're passionate about. Find that thing that you know that yes, this can help, you know, impact the lives of people and make this life better. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that message, calling on us to use our head, to impart act, to use our hands to give, and also to be concerned about the health of the environment, and also talking about sustainability for future generation. If you observe, I'm using the 4H actually.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, yeah, yeah. My head to
so
clearer thinking, my heart to greater loyalty, my hands to larger service, and my health to better living.
yeah, so I really want to thank you so much, for this message. Last message, I want to thank you for the insights, the gems, the examples, the analogy that you've dropped so far. It's really been, helpful. And I also want to thank you for the work you do, with promoting inclusive education, you know, helping with agricultural education and also impacting communities, trying to bridge the gap of inequality in all forms and, bringing about this such sort of national development and repositioning the country in the committee of nations, right? So I thank you so much. Really
Thank you very
appreciate
much. It's an honor.
it. We hope to have you next time for more discussion and to see you doing more things in the development space, making more impact. And kudos to your team, the people that are
Thank you.
volunteering with you. We see you, we wish you the best. We appreciate you as well. Keep doing what you do. Thank you so much. Do
Yeah,
have
thank you. Let me use this opportunity to commend you for the work you're doing. You are really, really doing a great work. Like we said, agriculture is really broad. It is not just about farming. We need agricultural communicators, those that would, pass this message, those that will help when it comes to policy making, those that will help when it comes to journalism in agriculture and everything. And you're doing a really, really great job when it comes to, um, um, agricultural communication. You're doing a really great job. Continue your work. Keep doing it. Trust me, the sky is the limit. It might not feel like I said, this is me. There's sometimes I feel like I'm not really making that progress that I want. But trust me, if I go back and I look at the numbers, I'd be like, okay, you've made that progress. So trust me, you're doing a really, really great job. I admire what you're doing with your podcast and how you're trying to, educate people about the agricultural sector and everything. So I really appreciate your work. Keep doing it, brother. Keep doing it.
Yeah, thank you so much. I just want to quickly add this to you that, I look forward to a partnership between what you do and what I do, how we can actually impact the rural community. So I will come up with
Awesome.
some ideas, just to throw this open and for people to be expecting something great from such partnership. Yeah. All right.
Awesome. Awesome. I'm always open to partnership and all that. So I'm looking forward to it.
All right. So I'll proceed to ending this space now. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes. Do
Yeah, I'd
have it.
like to say thank you as well to, everyone that joined in, that listened to this conversation. I really appreciate you taking your time out, to join in. I see all of you. I'm really, really grateful. I can't start calling all of his name, but I see all of you. Thank you very, very much. It's so good to see you. And for those that have missed, you could as well go back and listen to the conversation as soon as our host publishes the whole conversation. So thank you guys and have a wonderful evening.